So today I thought I'd mix it up a little bit. I'm going to tell you guys my personal story of how I went from being a tech sergeant in the Air Force working at the White House to being a real estate agent here in Maryland. Stay tuned. So I'm actually from Maryland originally. I grew up on Kent Island, Maryland, which is just east of Annapolis. I graduated from Kent Island High School in 2003. In 2006, I finally joined the Air Force, and that's really where my story begins, I think. So in the Air Force, I was on RF transmission, so I did satellite and radio communication. Spent 2 years in Misawa, Japan, and then I got assigned here in Maryland at Andrews Air Force Base. I spent 5 years living there. Then my final assignment was at Bowling Air Force Base, but I actually worked at the White House, and I spent 4 years working at the White House. And that by far was the greatest assignment I've had my entire military career. I got to travel all around the world with Obama and Joe Biden, and I got to work at the White House. Part of my duties was to go into the Oval Office every single night to do phone checks, make sure all the communication equipment in there is working properly. So that was a very cool assignment. So really when I was at this assignment at the White House, traveling around the world, I started having back issues. You know, part of my job was to lug these giant crates of heavy communication equipment up onto these rooftops and set up these big satellite dishes so all the Secret Service and POTUS and everybody else could have communication in that specific building. And that just took a real toll on my back, and I eventually got a medical discharge from the Air Force. Now, if you're in the military, you know that's a very slow process, and it took about 2 years for that to finally come to fruition. So I knew ahead of time that I was getting out of the military, and I knew I also needed a job that wasn't that straining on my back like the military was. Now, it was around this time we also got the diagnosis of my son, who was born in 2015, and he is unfortunately diagnosed with something called Fragile X, which is a kind of a rare genetic disorder that causes very severe intellectual disabilities as well as autism and a handful of other quirky things. You know, fortunately with the military, especially working at the White House, I used to be gone for weeks on end. You know, I used to do these trips for 2 weeks to like Israel, and then I'd come back and I'd go off for another 2 weeks to Brazil or Costa Rica. So it was cool that I got to travel around the world, but having a son with disabilities at home and leaving my wife to take care of him by himself, you know, that's not as cool. And I really wanted a job that would allow me to be home more, to spend more time with my family. So I joined the Air Force in 2006, and my mom, ironically, got her real estate license in 2006. So during this point in my story, she had her license for about 11 years. She had her broker's license, which is a really challenging certification to get in the real estate world. And so she talked me into getting my license as well. And so I got my license while I was still active duty and working at the White House, and I helped a lot of service members and a lot of my coworkers buy and sell homes here in Maryland. So finally in July of 2017, I got out of the military and I hit the ground running, and I was a full-time real estate agent. And I actually did pretty good at it. You know, from July 2017 to December 2017, I sold 5 homes. And then 2018, I really considered that my first full year, and I did 19 transactions that year. And that's actually pretty good. I think the average real estate agent does about 8 transactions a year. So 19 is a pretty solid number, and I'm pretty proud of that. So a lot of people don't think about this, but being a full-time real estate agent is actually pretty challenging. This industry has an 87% failure rate. So only 13% of the people who try to become a full-time real estate agent actually succeed at that. And this is really for a number of reasons. I think partially a lot of people just don't have the discipline to not have a boss telling them what to do. But luckily, with all the discipline that the Air Force taught me and the professionalism that the Air Force and the White House taught me, I think both of those things have really helped me do pretty well in this industry. So somewhere in this story, I also became a YouTuber, really just for fun. I have another channel all about the outdoors and camping, and I started creating videos for that channel, and I've had some success with that. I think I got about 40,000 subscribers. My best video is about hammock camping, and it has 600,000 views on it. So I came into this industry knowing quite a bit about online marketing, about YouTube, about cameras, about video marketing, and this sort of stuff. And that's where this channel came from. I really wanted to find a way to incorporate these 2 passions of mine of real estate and YouTube, and try to use this to help my business out in real estate. So make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, because I plan on putting out a lot more content this year, all about real estate and all about Maryland. So I think that about sums up how I went from being a tech sergeant in the Air Force working at the White House to being a real estate agent here in Maryland. If you guys are thinking about buying or selling real estate here in Maryland, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Find out all my contact information at thelawsongroupmd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I plan on putting a lot more content on this channel in 2019.